Welcome back to the LCS Academy, powered by Verizon. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we were unable to get an interview with Surdy, but I promised him I will get an interview with him as soon as possible, so we'll try and get that one out for you. But besides that, we got to see a very nice comeback from Evil Geniuses Academy. I think that we needed to see in a way that I didn't know I needed, but I needed that. And I think it's incredible to see their bounce back just in one series. We'll see how they go for the rest of the week here, as we do have a long one. But now we got to get to FlyQuest Academy versus TSM Academy. This one has some very, I wouldn't say confusing pieces to the puzzle itself, but there's a lot of change-ups, a lot of shake-ups in this one to finish off the first day of week number 5, Joshi.
Yeah, let's start by congratulating the people who are going to be playing in LCS. We got Soul moving up, we got Instinct moving up, we got Chime moving up, all going to be playing with the TSM LCS roster. But what does that mean for the rest of us? What are they going to be doing with the rest of Academy? Well, we have a lot of new players, and in fact, we only have, I guess, like 1.5 returning members from what we saw in previous weeks here for TSM. Takeover is still here, and Mia's back.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it's interesting to see kind of the shakeup, but as well as seeing some familiar faces, right? Like, especially for TSM Academy, the move up is huge, but to also see the likes of, Tactical and Mia coming into the bot lane, seeing what they can prove and seeing what Tactical can show us as the once lauded ADC, but as well as this whole roster just trying to, I guess, find their place here at Academy at this point. We got Solo coming in, you got Anda, big names in League of Legends in North America in its own right, and I think there's a lot of high expectations for this roster, Joshi.
True, and it's definitely a bunch of players that have had storied backgrounds, right? We have seen Solo play historically, and most recently coach for CLG Faith, and taking a little bit of a step back, but going right on back, we are hoping that he has the same kind of success now as he has had on previous versions of, say, Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians, FlyQuest as well, where he had the most success. I mean, this is just the last time we really got to see him, was back in the summer of 2021, and I expect great things from him. Like, you expect this player. He's one of those players that's been around for some time, and you talked about how he was coaching for CLG Faith, now stepping back into the player shoes, saying, all right, you know what?
Yeah.
Wasn't a big fan of doing the coach. I'm much better. I feel like I could still hang with the rest of the gang in top lane.
And for me, it's always finding stability, right? And I think that in some aspects, that's what that Solo brings to the table in that veteran experience to the Academy roster. But when you're throwing in all these other pieces as well, that's where I'm like looking at the meshing, right? I already highlighted Tactical coming in, but this duo who is playing LCS and finding some successes, I want to say, like, the sky's the limit for Tactical at this point in a redemption arc for himself in his own career, but it's still a question to be begged and something that we still need to figure out.
And you have to ask, like, what's going on with TSM LCS? Because it's not just the fact that Tactical is coming down to play, but also Mia, right? We know that Tactical has had success in the past, but he's struggling to find an opportunity to play with a single support because they keep swapping it in and out.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time to build synergy with either of them. And now, coming right on back down, this is an opportunity to showcase that it doesn't matter who you pair me with. I'm going to be having some success no matter what. And so far, he's been playing a lot of very standard things throughout the course of the regular season. Lucian, Callista, Ezreal, Jinx, even throwing through the Seraphine as well.
And for me, it's always looking out for that name on aggression for Tactical and try to find out how he's going to try to win lane, what he's going to do with Mia to get an advantage ahead, because it's an interesting conversation bringing in veterans, having veteran presence in Academy itself, and especially, you talk about all these big names on TSM Academy, but you also got to talk about a long-standing player in Diamond for FlyQuest Academy, Magical.
I was about to say, from FlyQuest in general. You got Kumo, you've got Tomo, you've got Diamond. These are a lot of players with a lot of experience in Academy. Diamond, I think, is one of the big points, though. This guy has been around for quite some time, just in competitive in general, but he's always been this general for the team. Whenever he's with Tomo, it feels like he's leading the charge. He's the one setting up a lot of the plays for the team because he has that veterancy. He has the shot calling capabilities that set up perfectly for the rest of FlyQuest.
And I think
he's definitely been somewhat underserved Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is looking at both these guys' trajectory. I know we've talked a lot about Tactical and a lot about Diamond, but both their trajectories in their career so far, with a lot left still to go. But the differences and similarities we see in that journey, Joshi.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where I know Diamond, even though he's been playing for a while and he role swapped from mid ages ago at this point, that we just think of him as support at right now, we continue to see that he's a very, very smart player. And going up against someone like Mia and someone like Tactical, who are coming down and they're both relatively young players, this is where Diamond can really showcase how this veterancy, how the brain that he has for the game can find even more victories for the side of FlyQuest.
Yep, and it's gonna be a test for FlyQuest Academy in its own right, coming in with all these kind of crazy changes into TSM Academy. How do you approach that strategy? You've got to deal with the LCS team coming down with some new added faces, and who's making his way up as well. And I think we've talked a lot about the other rallying pieces, but I think Anda also deserves a little bit of praise here as well. Magical.
Yeah, Anda's been one of these junglers. I mean, I even talked about him before when we saw the pop you just picked in the previous series. Anda was one of the first people that really play that Poppy, really feel comfortable while the champion. He brings a style that's this control. You always try to see how he can set up for the rest of the team. So I'm really curious to see how this will work for this essentially revamped TSM Academy.
Well, hey, we will find out very shortly to see what iteration of TSM Academy will find success, or if FlyQuest will put them right into the dirt. We'll find out after this champ select in the first game. So take it away, guys.
Alrighty, let's get into this game. Let's get into Champion Select. As we see Seraphine banned against Tomo, but the Kalista taken away from Tactical. Tactical and Mia were playing that a lot in LCS with the Renata.
True. And looking across at everything, I kind of want to go back and remind people that because this is an entirely new version of TSM, all of their previous records, while they have inherited them, don't mean a whole lot, right? This is literally 4 members have changed since we saw these guys in week 4, where they were really struggling. They're coming in at last, currently tied for last at 4-16. But this team, I'm expecting it'll probably end up falling somewhere in the middle of the pack, right? Solo, while he's played a lot of characters like the Renekton and Gnar historically, is still just this 80 bruiser player who's going to be going up in the top lane. And going up against Kumo, I expect Solo will probably find some success there.
I would expect so as well. I mean, I'm looking at Solo and how he can play into this. Being Bread side, I'd expect that they want to give a comfortable matchup to Solo in his first stage game since, last year. And with Anda being such a great jungler that can help control, it would be best to just make sure the top side of the map is as comfortable as humanly possible.
Yeah, and we know that Anda has played so much alongside Viper, who is this lane monster, right? He constantly is going for these opportunities to build up individual leads up in the top lane, and Anda was very happy to make sure that he was able to do that. And so now, Solo going up into Kumo, I feel like we can see a very similar game plan there. Let Tactical and Mia do their thing, and Takeover, very flexible in his ability to move around the rest of the map.
And I'm curious to see what he wants to pair up against the Corki. If it's just the typical Corki Azir matchup, which, wouldn't be too terrible. But we've seen far more performances from Takeover when he's on more of a melee style. When he's on something that can really bring the battle immediately to someone like Corki. You say, yeah, you know what? I don't care about the late game, the poke that you have. We're fighting now. That's why that Silas ban doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. The Lucian Nami coming through. I feel like it was very funny already seeing, right? The cold open we had at the beginning with Kings and Mazel coming through and just being like, no Lucian Nami lanes!
And there we go.
There it is! Let's go! Okay, TSM going to be bringing it through, and this is one of those things where it shows a lot of confidence because you need to find early game advantages with this, and going up against Tomo and Diamond, the bot lane with cheat codes, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Like, that's a tough task to try and really beat them down.
Yeah, and with Tomo playing FLYA as well, I think that he's more than comfortable on. And if that's a Lulu, that's just one of those lanes where you're like, well, GG's well played.
That's a wash in some ways, right? It's very difficult for them to actually beat up Tomo and Diamond. We'll pay attention for whether or not Tactical and Mia can find success there. But I feel like in the mid lane, you have a couple of ways of dealing with Corki. One, you can recognize that he doesn't do anything early in the game, right? Until he gets to like level 9, until he gets that ultimate, you can just kind of handshake, right? You can use this opportunity to roam around, like we saw with Silico. You can use this to bully the Corki, as has been the Victor idea so consistently in the past. And Azir is kind of like, well, if you're not going to punish me, I'm going to try and scale alongside you, and I'm a more consistent playmaker because I'm not reliant on a 5-minute cooldown.
Yeah, that is true. Doesn't have to worry about the package. Spyrex gotta worry about that timer each and every time you look for these fights, especially around the objectives. But now that we've got the mid and bot side of the map already locked in for both squads, it's time to focus on the junglers. Normally, by now, we already see junglers locked in for each side. Now we're starting to see that slip away a little bit more. The horror more focus is onto this bot lane especially.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a meta where Wukong is no longer the single best champion in the game. Like, he's still something that you can be okay picking for yourself, but he was so good at clearing, he was so good at making plays happen that the jungle has become a bit more of a counter-picking role, once again, instead of being something that you are very focused on actually grabbing early on in the draft. And that's kind of what we're seeing now with the Xinjia and the Viego bans coming through. We're really limiting a lot of options, and while Anda has historically played things like Udyr, Lee Sin, and Trundle, all of those are still available to him.
And with that Volibear being the last ban by FlyQuest, I mean, yeah, it's not as good into this matchup, but Anda's Poppy. It's something that he has played very successfully, even into compositions that don't necessarily mean that he's going to hard counter him, but instead, they need some sort of engage as well to follow up the tidal waves from Mia. So they get that Wukong for Anda and deny that from Yuji.
Definitely a big takeaway, right? Yuji has definitely been focused on actually coming through and using the Wukong to its great effectiveness. I would be a little bit surprised if that did get locked in, and instead we are going back to something that Yuji is much more comfortable on historically. You have a lot of opportunities, and the Grog is coming through.
Okay.
Definitely a bit of a challenge to what we've been seeing with the Wukong. Just knock him away, who cares?
Well, I'm still curious to see if that's going to be Kumo playing Gragas or not, because it still has that flexibility. You can put it jungle, have more of the AP style, more of the burst, or you can put it top lane, be a little bit more tanky. In fact, that seems to be the case. This is why I was calling it out, because I was looking at what Yuji tends to play. It's more of these AD junglers, more like Lee Sin, the Kiana we saw a lot of last split as well.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that suddenly the Lee Sin is just like back in the meta, right? When there's nothing that is super overbearing, Lee Sin tends to make a comeback, and Wukong is no longer overbearing like he used to be. The Volibear is taken off the table. The Viego is not just going to be killing everybody all on his own. So Lee Sin suddenly becomes very reasonable. You have two ways to get him out of the fights, and TSM, how do they actually want to deal with this? They're going to be shaking hands over actually taking this top lane tank matchup. And so both teams have kind of agreed it's about the mid lane. It's about the bottom lane. Will Tactical and Mia actually be able to beat up Tomo and Diamond, or will they survive the early game and have more of an impact later on in the rest of the map?
And that's where it's all down to how TSM play these early stages of the game. You have Wukong, he can play pretty well, especially with the Lucian and Nami bot lane, but then there's a Lee Sin on the other side. A great early jungler we've seen many times that Lee Sins get these massive, massive leads right out of the gates, especially now against Wukong, like you talked about, not being nearly as powerful as he once was.
And so we know that Yuji, well, he's become a lot more tempered, a lot more controlled than he was when he first came into Academy Spring. He's definitely somebody that can thrive when he plays these more aggressive, assassinate, playmaker style junglers. And with his Lee Sin in his pocket, I think that he has the tools necessary to actually make that happen. Diamond is taking a bit more of a back seat and is going to be making everybody else stronger, but it's a little bit harder to sometimes suss out exactly what it is that the Lulu is going to be doing. So instead, he's going to say, no, don't look at me. Look at the Aphelios. Look at the Lee Sin.
And honestly, it's still hard, because even if you then say, you know what, whatever, we're going to focus on Lulu, all Lulu has to do is get the wild growth and a polymorph off in the fight, done. That's your entire job in a fight. So it's really difficult now to look at TSM, look at where they can focus, because when we dive into the Rift for this first game of our last series, I'm excited to see how they can play around Tomo and Diamond.
As we jump onto the Rift, Alex, for the second to last time today, we're going to answer all those questions and more. What is the meaning of life? Is TSM
42.
the same team? Where will they land up?
Well, I have the answer to the meaning of life, but I don't know the question.
You don't know the question?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's still something we can ask. That's we'll build a planet for that, actually.
Can it be run by mice?
Can.
It could.
Maybe some dolphins as well.
Okay.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yep. Alright, as long as we have a compromise, it works for me. But now the compromise bot lane is that Mia taking a long path. He was hanging around the top side of the map, trying to make sure that there was not going to be an invade early on by Yuji. That means he's pretty late to this bot lane. The control is gained by Tomo and Diamond on the onset.
Will they be able to do anything with it? It's not as though the level 1 from Lulu Aphelios is the scariest thing in the world, right?
Yeah, but
You
denying
still
the
have
level
the
1 from...
electrocute.
Well, it's all about the level 2 for me. I look at the level 2, and if a Tactical Diamond can't get that experience lead, the whole idea of this bot lane is kind of forfeit.
Did they throw down a ward? Yeah, they did. They threw down a ward. Tactical will, in fact, see where Diamond was, but the rest of the map, relatively calm start to this game, which I feel is like almost unusual based on what we've already seen in the rest of what we've had today. We've had invades, we've had skirmishes going off right at the beginning, and instead, people are just going to be going right on to their standard camps. Very normal clear coming through from both Yuji and Anda, and both of them on the top side of the map.
We'll meet in the bottom half. Probably looking to play around the bot lane, kind of as expected. When you have the 2 tank top side, not really expecting too much aggression out of them, even if Kumo starts off initially with some AP. It's kind of the route you go with as Grog gets into the lane. You want to try to make up for the base damages that an Ornn can do.
Yeah, and this is definitely a matchup where, in general, just like the brawling tends to go in favor of the Ornn, but the sustain is a huge advantage over to Kumo, right? Kumo can stay in the lane a lot longer, and if he uses his ultimate, it can be very difficult for Solo to actually get the second part of the Call of the Forge God off. So it ends up being a little bit of a wash a lot of the time, but if Solo just like sticks in and stays in the fight, he should be much happier in a lot of these situations than Kumo will.
Speaking of wash, I talked about it before, the level 2 experience lead for Tomo and Diamond. So a slow push back towards TSM. This Tactical gets a bit of a trade onto Tomo, but still, you've lost out on a lot of that momentum that you could utilize as the Aphelios Nami lane to try to gain an early kill or an early pressure.
So we'll see what they can do the next time the Mia Electrocute proc is available again. It's not up just quite yet, so as we see a bit more trading, they don't have enough pressure, but Anda steals it away anyway.
Anda stealing away the Scuttle Crab just barely from Yuji.
There you go, and in the mid lane, Takeover, not allowing Spyrax to just sit on his laurels, say, hey, I'm quirky, I'm going to scale into the game. Takeover, pushing him around. He doesn't need to be on the melee champion to be aggressive in the mid lane.
Nope, pretty much making sure Spyrax has a miserable time until he can get level 6 to clear out a little bit easier. That's usually the power spike that everyone looks for Corki. And he's taken really low. Takeover could probably just solo kill him. Yes, he can! First blood!
Oh, ends up going down on the backside, so
I respect
flash for flash. But getting the coming online, Azir is relevant before Corki is, so that does mean your first power spike will be a little bit more impactful, and I like the confidence coming through from Takeover, right? You only denied like a minion from Spyrax, but that's not 0.
That's true. I mean, it's non-zero. I more just respect the hell out of Takeover for going for the play. I like that kind of aggression from mid laners, trying to immediately gain control of the lane. He comes back with Sork Boots in his inventory and still has enough pressure onto Spyrax, who's gone the double longsword and Fear the Goddess, which is expected. But it means that he's just going to get chunked out each time. Takeover just going to step up, use the soldiers, try to see if he can get Spyrax as low as humanly possible. Like right there, he can just fully engage on him, never having to really relent any of the pressure that he's gained, as Spyrax tries his best to fight back, but he doesn't have the missile barrage.
Yeah. Oh,
nice flash though. Yuji's burning to the red buff. It's burning, burning, burning. Not enough like you called out, Josh.
Oh, just barely not able to do it, but that still buys enough space once again as Yuji goes for the cheeky smite. And all the work that Takeover just did undone by Yuji coming into the mid lane, barely staying alive, and both mid laners are going to have to recall, and it will be a bit of a wash yet again. But Solo pushing Kumo around rather effectively. But in the bottom lane, Tomo and Diamond, they're holding firm. They're not allowing Tactical and Mia to have much of an impact just quite yet. And to look a bit more at how Tactical has done so far in LCS, you know, with their 2-5 record, he naturally kind of struggles. But in their 5 losses combined, he doesn't even have a 1.0 KDA. He's 4, 15, and 8.
That is rough. I mean, losses you kind of expect, but KDA doesn't really mean too much. But right,
Oh.
that was a interesting play, right,
Cute.
Kumo? I think you're just trying to see if you can at least gain control of the minion wave since it's frozen right outside of his turret
He
range.
has no mana.
Got no mana, but he's got biscuits.
Got no manners.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
the whole
I
point
mean,
of Gragas. He doesn't have
was-
manners.
It was cute, for sure, coming out from Kumo, but I think that just makes it a little bit more dangerous if
Nice bubble.
Anda happened to be around.
There's a nice bubble in the bot lane, but this is the problem, that this bot lane is suffering. They
Yeah.
can look for all the plays they want, but it's a Lulu of FLYA lane. The reason we saw it dominate the meta for so long is because there's not really much you can do against it. You kind of are hoping for a little bit of early pressure, but you're not really going to have the most success.
And if this lane starts falling behind, it doesn't really get better later
Oh,
on.
like right there. Mia, Ignite taking on his head. They're following up. They got the Glitter Lance to connect for Diamond with Tactical now in trouble. He cleanses away the purple gun and tries to fight back against Tomo now that Anda's here, who flashed on top of him to get the flash out of Tomo. Shields too. It all is a wash for TSM.
Yeah, Diamond feeling the blood, just goes forward, takes down Mia, and Tactical sticking around.
Oh, Tactical. He does get one in retribution, but he still loses his own life.
Still a 1-for-1, and now Diamond going to be the recipient of all the gold, all the experience down here in the bottom lane. But this is just it, right? They are down a level, and Mia missing this bubble as Tomo does step back. There's nothing really left for them to do. Tactical is a burst champ. He doesn't have the same kind of raw, consistent DPS that everybody else will, and so he just has to fall back. And while Tomo does have to expend his flash, the only real mistake he makes comes later, right? When Tactical is like, you can't do that.
You can't stay in lane. Tactical has enough damage, so flashes in, takes him down, and that is the saving grace. Tactical gets the kill, as Diamond gets both the previous kills. He got the kill on Mia and gets the retribution kill onto Tactical. You need that gold funneled into the Aphelios to really have that power against Illusion.
So it ends up being, you know, even though Tomo didn't get any kills, the 2 assists does effectively amount to a kill in terms of gold. So, you know, Tactical and Tomo are about even, but Diamond is well ahead of where Mia is going to be because Diamond was the last man standing. He's got a ton of extra experience as well. He's already hit level 6, and Mia still waiting for his opportunity. But as we see this big lane swap come through, FlyQuest trying to stop the bleeding.
Trying to stop some bleeding in some lanes, get a bit more of an advantage, but I feel like it's more so they can play around the Rift Herald. The Dragon still is up. TSM can easily grab that if they want to, but I feel like for a FlyQuest, they're looking to topple structures and gain momentum.
But they currently back away from the top side of the map. I mean,
Surprising.
it's definitely another game where we have a lot of tools ready to scale in. And looking at what TSM has already drafted for themselves, they've drafted an early game bottom lane, but I'm a little bit worried from what we're currently seeing, right? The fact that they first pick Lucian Nami, they have such a small lead, if you could call it that at all. They're not really ahead. Tactical and Mia, like, when things start going bad for this duo, it's not that they tend to int uncontrollably, right? They don't tend to die a whole lot after that. They just shut down, right? And that's the thing that Tomo and Diamond can really pressure them as the first items are getting close to coming through. I think when Tomo gets his Gale Force, I feel like Tactical and Mia, their timer will almost be done.
I mean, they've already struggled in the lane. And then to think that when the Gale Force is completed for both sides, it's still going to be Tomo coming out on top. It's a bit rough for Tactical and Mia. Makes me think that they might want to look for a place elsewhere. Try to see if they can be the ones moving up their lanes or even gaining control of the neutral objectives.
Whack.
Whack, whack.
And that's what we're seeing, right? TSM, they're starting up the Infernal Dragon. They don't have priority in the bottom lane, and Yuju's there.
That's surprising. They do have at least some sort of inside angle, since Yuji was trying to look for a lane gank, so they'll sacrifice that. He has the Rift Herald Eye as well, so Yuji can pop that in response to the Dragon being taken.
They definitely know the dragon's gone down. They know that Anda is around, but Yuji gets spotted out when they actually hit
Anda
the Scryer.
went over. They got the double cyclone. Here's the wombo combo getting a lot of damage on Yuji. First casualty in the fight is Tomo. Look for the purple guns to take down Takeover. Takeover doing a lot better to make sure they get a shutdown for Anda.
And Anda, big playmaker coming through already. We know he was playing with Norg. This guy actually was a Proving Grounds champion.
Yeah.
The first time we actually saw Proving Grounds playing alongside Norg and Viper in Proving Grounds Spring 2021. Now trying to come right on back and already trying to show that he deserves his spot, right? It wasn't just Viper. He's able to hang in here as well.
Exactly. And already starting off on a good foot. The tactical Tomo fight a little bit. Could be the root coming in from Tomo, looking for the fight against Tactical. Now that he's got press of the attack, should be able to win this one out. Does not have flash, though. Only the heal, doesn't want to burn either.
I wonder if he could have, but he didn't at the end of the day. That's the difference. Jan would have gone for that play, right? Tomo, clearly not. But we got a replay to come through to highlight some of what Anda was able to actually accomplish. He knows that everybody's here. They've spotted out Yuji, and so it's just a matter of separating a bunch of members. I love the play from Mia, right? Gets the tidal wave and flashes for the bubble. And even though it doesn't land, the idea was there. The concept was correct, and TSM able to find 2 quick kills.
I'm still on a joke from you. Concept's not in this game.
Ha-ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Ha-ha.
Uh-huh. I feel so funny.
I'm proud of you. You're learning.
I don't.
From the master.
I'm not proud of myself. I feel disgusted. But
Well,
you know what? Right now, I'm not
okay.
feeling disgusted by the gameplay, at least. Because right now, it's looking pretty clean from both sides. Gaining advantages in some lane. TSM doing a good job. New roster. Stepping up pretty big. But it's an even game state. A little bit of gold going back and forth with the charge mid lane. Wasn't able to take down 3 plates, so that is something they might want to revisit if they can gain control of another neutral objective, since they lost the dragon to TSM.
Yeah. And we have to note that this was a team that, you know, even in their previous incarnation, TSM wasn't a team that was necessarily, like, just crumbling in laning phase. Like, their lanes were fine, right? They were down on average of, 448 gold at the 15-minute mark. Now they're up about that amount, but because it was like that's not even 1,000 gold, it was basically even the entire time, and they ended up falling apart in the mid game. But this is a much more veteran roster. We don't expect the same kind of issues.
Spyrex just uses Valkyrie to get away. I'm actually going to shift our attention back to the top lane, because I expected it to be more of that tanky build for Kumo, be someone that could be more of a frontline for the team, but he is more so building up AP. The Hextech alternator as well is going for the Night Harvester. A bit surprising.
That's bold.
Yeah,
that is.
That's all. I'm surprised.
Yeah, that is not the Kumo that I know, right? That is not the Kumo that we've seen historically looking for all of these plays. He hasn't played Gragas so far in summer, and he played it a fair amount in spring.
Right.
But the fact that he's going for this big damage build is very surprising to me, because I feel like his team already has plenty of damage. You have Aphelios, you have Corki.
That's kind of why I wanted to call it out, just to look at that and see how it's going to perform. So we'll keep our eyes on Kumo, especially because he kind of needs to join in these fights now. It's not necessarily just neutralizing solo, trying to find ults that can make sure that the Call of the Forge God won't be able to get the knock-up. Instead, it's more about catching someone out of position, like Takeover, like Anda, like Tactical.
Yeah. I just realized I had written down a fun fact for Hoon earlier in the day that I want to bring up now, because I was looking for fun facts about solo in my notes. But did you know that Hoon's blood type is A?
Why does that matter?
I don't know, it was on his wiki page.
I've always heard this whole blood type thing, and I'm like, what does that even mean? What does
We should ask Solo what his blood type is, but Solo, his blood type is Kumo.
Yeah, looking for the fight, but again, it's the wet noodle fight. Even if Kumo's built a little bit more damage, this is the real fight. The bot lane, looking for the trade, the flash in, Tactical!
And even with the heal, Tomo falls at the end of that, the Gale Force, and then the Gale Force Diamond. And Yuji not gonna let that kind of transgression go unpunished.
Shut down for Yuji. I mean,
Bam.
still power to Tactical there.
There you go, 2-2. Already coming through. We do know that Tactical in his wins does quite a bit better, right? 10, 5, and 11 across the 2 wins that they've already picked up. Spyrex does have the package at the right time. There's a dragon to play for.
Hey. Looking good, but
Told you
now
it's not that hard.
you gotta just wait, because at the moment, Enda is getting aggressive, kicked back in, using Cyclone, but it's a call to the fort, got angle with Solo having TV behind them, the package to split up the fight
There
to get
you
the first
go.
kill, but it's trade, jungle for jungle. Solo's in the middle of everybody, but they don't have Kumo, who doesn't have TP to join in just yet. Instead of trying to see if they can tickle the tank, now Spyrex is in danger, has to use Valkyrie over the wall. Even the turret that was set down by Tomo, not really doing much, so instead both teams seeing if they can feign that they're not really looking for this objective while FlyQuest truly want it.
FlyQuest are going to be committing for it, and Spyrex doing a good job with that package, doing what he's supposed to. And FlyQuest with control of this, Anda will be here a little bit faster. And FlyQuest, I think they've taken too long to actually start it up. Anda might be here in time.
I agree. Looking at the pace right now, Anda should be here momentarily, but FlyQuest commit. They've got damage from Tomo and even from Kumo, having gone for more of the damage build. So they'll take it right away from TSM, despite Anda being so close to stopping.
And evening up the dragon score does mean that the game is relatively even. We get to take another look at this replay, and this is why you pick up the package around the dragons, right? You know that the fight is actually going to happen. Spyrex, I love the patience that he actually shows here. He waits until he sees where the real version of Anda is before he actually just goes in and takes him down. And then, unfortunately, Tomo is a little bit too far, but that's what it is, right? The package makes up for even being down a person.
It does a lot. I mean, package damage is nothing to scoff at, even if you only have a Manamune in your inventory with some components looking for that Luden's Tempest. There's still just so much you can utilize out of Corki, and Spyrex did a great job there. That's the team, the Dragon afterwards. They've got a little bit of advantages, but here, this is TSM's time to strike. Try to see if they can hit at some of these side lanes, if they can get another kill for Tactical. This could start shifting the tides back towards them.
True, and Tomo, you know, it's kind of a shaky thing, right? When you just lost that duel when it was close, it makes you a lot more reticent to try and go for it again.
Also love the sidestep from Mia. Here's a tidal wave used with the Moonlight Vigil. Still not enough. But nice sidesteps from Mia means that he will survive to see another day.
Yeah. You can tell Tactical's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, right? When we get players who come back down, I feel like the best example that we've had was Stixay.
Oh, Tactical taking down Yuji in this fight. And he's pulling the trigger. He's looking for the fights. He's corralled Tomo into the wall with the Wild Growth not being enough to save his life, so they can get double kills for Tactical.
There you go, but even though Tactical was the one who gets the kills, it was Anda setting it up once again, showcasing that Wukong still such a powerful champion. You could still make all of these plays happen. And Solo.
Okay, Solo looking for the pick on. Ooh, the flash not enough. Spyrex, he's caught out. TSM striking back fiercely across the board.
And that's going to be getting them the mid lane turret. That's 3 kills that they got on the top side. They're getting the mid lane turret. They got a kill in the mid lane. TSM are back to play, baby. This is a whole new version of them. And it feels like Enda and Takeover have really come alive. They haven't like synced up a whole lot as a mid-jungle duo, but individually, they're just having so much success.
Pretty much any success that one gains, the other tries to one-up them. Because here, Anda, I like this play on to Yuji. Say, you know what? He's squishy. We can jump on him and then still continuing. Because even with Mia being low enough, they have that advantage. They don't have to worry about getting bursted down too quickly.
Yeah. And so it is just them going forward. It is Anda recognizing that, hey, I am stronger right now. I can take all of these fights. I can go aggressive. And I feel like that's something we are continuing to see as remnants of what we already knew he could do. It's always been surprising to me that Anda has not been in Academy for a lot of this time, right? He played on No-Org, he played on Immortals Academy back in summer of 21. But the fact that he's right on back to, or he was back to playing with No-Org, playing alongside Viper in this most recent Proving Grounds qualifier has always been a shock to me. We know that this guy can make plays.
Exactly, and we're seeing it here. Though Kumo was able to use the body block to make sure no Cyclone would come out of Anda, but still, he's done his job. He's made sure that Kumo's going to have a difficult time so they can rotate around and gain more control of Yuji's jungle. And with how low that turret is, they could probably dive, but they're holding off just yet.
Don't want to overcommit, right? It's okay to use Tactical's ultimate. It's on a low cooldown, as long as you have the choke point, but you want to make sure that you have everything ready, because we are coming up to yet another dragon fight. And TSM They have some tools that scale quite well, right? Obviously, the Ornn is going to be good in the late game. The Azir can have a lot of opportunities, but Corki and Aphelios will definitely do more damage than Tactical, right? Tactical is going to struggle to get in to a lot of these fights. So they need to try and give themselves an opportunity to match some of the scaling that Corki can actually put out, and getting yourself a shield off of Mountain Soul is a great way to do it.
You know what's funny too? I look at what role Tactical can fit in the team, and it looks like to me that he'll fill the role that normally a split pusher or side laner would do. He is going to be the flank tool. If he can get around, find Tomo, find Spyrex pretty quickly, he's going to do a lot of burst damage to either of them, and allows that more DPS-focused members, such as Takeover, to be the ones bringing up the weight of needing to carry in these late-game teamfights.
Pew pew! Yeah, he still does a lot of damage right now, though. Tactical. Looking around, and Spyrex has a package again. This is how you do it.
Round the dragon. A couple of seconds from spawning. With all 5 members from both teams being here, looking for the waltz around. It's already been started. Call the Forge God, going to get the knockup on Spyrex. There's the package away to make sure they can dodge away from the dash. Now they've got to see if they can fight back. Kumo is on the other side, but Anda, he goes deep. He dies first, the first casualty in the fight, as now they have the fight all themselves. FlyQuest might have dished down. TSM overextending, looking for the plays. The burn. Is it enough to take down Takeover? It's not, but they'll take the 1 kill and the dragon.
And there you go. Even though Spyrex didn't have the most effective package in the world, he had it ready. He forced Solo to use the ult to just get the package burned. And TSM, they had to over-engage so far. It's so difficult to engage into the Grog. It's so difficult to engage into Tomo when he has the white gun and just throws down that turret. It's a fantastic play coming through from FlyQuest. And even though they're still down 3,000 gold, at least they got the objective boundary. They got themselves another dragon, and they can also override some of the scaling that TSM has.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's the fact that they're slowing down the pace of the game that was being accelerated by TSM. Even if you have an Azir on your team with an Ornn, you still got to worry about Aphelios. You still got to worry about Corki. Late game, how powerful both these champions can be compared to something like Lucian that's got low range and will struggle later on into the fights, as you talked about. He's pretty much going to have to fill the role of a flanker, someone that can find every angle possible, because otherwise he's not really going to do too much in these fights.
Wait, FlyQuest lost their mid lane turret to minions? How did that happen?
Oh, it was like a sneeze away. It was
Yes.
below like 50 health. That's how low it was.
Alright. It had 8 health, says our producer. Thank you, Joey.
I was right. It was less
You were
than
right.
50.
That is less than 50. And more than 7.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in the right ballpark.
There you go. But FlyQuest, they're doing a pretty good job overall, just like maintaining a deficit that isn't too overwhelming, right? They definitely still have plenty of tools to actually take these fights going forward, but TSM, we've seen them sneak. Or not, we haven't seen this version of TSM, but we've seen teams sneak in this exact situation, right? When they had Wukong, they had Azir, they already have the Azir with their Rabadon. They can just hit the Baron if they want to, and look at all the wards. Admittedly, a lot of them are zombie wards.
Yeah, it's still a lot of control around the pit. They even weighed out the blue trinket that was used on the Baron, so they could turn for that realistically if they wanted to. But instead, if they're looking for the fight, they're looking to see if they can jump on top of FlyQuest. Here's going to be the call of the Forge God, getting the knock-up onto Tomo, but they can't reach him just yet. It's going to be Takeover, trying to damn this to be able to get on top of him and assassinate him for a killing spree. Kumo, he will be the next one. Flashes away, surviving for now. The 1 pick again for TSM. This time should net them Baron.
And they isolated Tomo out. Tomo not able to get to the safety of Diamond, and having that extra member, Spyrex, gonna try and come on back. Kumo does have to teleport to rejoin, but this is a 4v5, and Anda still has his ultimate.
And it does. Here's gonna be the TP, pretty far away. 50% left on Baron. Both teams, they have their advantages. They can utilize a kick in from Yuji to steal it away. But Anda,
sneaky.
he's being sneaky. He's looking for the flank. He's not looking for the Baron. He's using the team to bait him out. Now that they've been spotted out, they spotted out that Anda was not on the Baron. They're gonna let it reset. Anda. Oh, you gotta be a little bit more cautious about that. Wasn't expecting that much damage with the explosive cast. Now Kumo is gonna be the one in danger. Rampage for Tactical.
Wow, Kumo overextending a little bit, trying to actually find the kill onto Anda. I don't even think that secures up the Baron if they're able to pick it up, but it does prevent TSM from grabbing the Baron. And now FlyQuest, they come in, Yuji, 3 auto tech, clears out 3 wards, only gets 3 golds for it, but taking more control over the area back, they can see a whole lot more next time they come through. But in just a moment, Alex, it's package time.
It's package time. I mean, is it yet?
Very soon.
I was about to say, I would give it another 30 seconds.
See, you're already doing better than Jimian.
Look.
Sorry, like, there's just like not a lot of play to it, man. It's very simple check, but
This is how you can always tilt Josh. Anytime I'm playing with you now, I'm just going to take the package when it's not necessary.
yeah, do it exactly right after the dragon has already died. That'll really get me going.
Yeah, I'll do that just for you. Because now,
All
TSM
right.
got a lot of damage onto that tier 2 again. And Tactical with Gale Force having a completed Ornn item as well, getting these ornaments. Yep, the Typhoon spread around. Tactical still has a lot of damage, and if we rewind, look at that last fight where he tried to solo out Tomo. It was what I was kind of talking about. He's more of like an assassin, more of the flanker, trying to get into the back line.
Well, I mean, he just struggles with range, right? He can't hit very easily as long as Kumo has the ultimate available, which he will not at the beginning of this upcoming fight. It's very difficult for the members of TSM to walk in. Takeover can do it, but Tactical definitely can't. And FlyQuest, not interested in fighting for this dragon. They say, we already got 2 of those.
Right.
We've already got a Holy Grail of our own. We're not interested in going on your quest. Instead, we're going to be hitting the Baron and forcing you to face back
Take
us.
it quickly, though. That's the only thing. That dragon was melted by Tactical. With the Call of the Forge God coming in from solo. Look for the knock. I'm not going to be able to connect onto anybody. It's 50% on the Baron. They still have to be cautious with the package up for Spyrex. He gets knocked up by the Baron, having to use the package defensively. The explosive cast defensively. Everything has been defensive on the side of FlyQuest, trying to make sure they can secure the objective. But Anda's in the pit. No, he's not! Yuji security! Train of 1-for-1 at the moment. Both junglers are dead. Diamond's low.
Takeover!
Takeover! He is taking over this game and winning it for TSM!
Azir is just coming up big today. They're teleporting towards the mid lane. They're trying to end right here and now. They lose the Baron, but TSM are not going to go quietly. Fantastic play coming out from Takeover yet again, finding the triple, quadruple knockback and just cleaning it up.
What a play from Takeover. Someone that we've highlighted before, usually on the melees, but this time on Azir. Immaculate play to secure victory in this first game. But it was such a nail-biter up until that moment. It seemed like it was anybody's game, but really, it was Takeover's.
When everything around him is changing, when you have 4 new members coming into the TSM roster that Takeover now finally has an opportunity to play with, he's not just going to fall back. He's not going to be the one saying, oh, it's a new team, we're going to take some time to get used to everything yet again. No, he's here to make plays, he's here to win games, and taking down FlyQuest for their first game in their series is a good start.
What a play. I mean, honestly, couldn't ask for anything better out of Takeover. That was literally the game-winning play in every stretch that you can ever possibly imagine. And so they'll take that first game, TSM. And this is quite a bounce back from some of our teams. We saw Evil Geniuses getting the game off of 100 Thieves, but almost even getting the first one. And now we start off with TSM getting a victory over FlyQuest. Our bottom of the standings teams are really starting to skyrocket.
I don't want to be careful of calling, this TSM a bounce back, Ryan, because it's like...
It's just one game. True.
But it's also more like, it's not the same team, right? So we will continue to pay attention to how well they actually do. I expect that it will probably be them sitting up at a very similar spot to where, our FlyQuest, our CLGs, our Blomb there in the middle is very likely to hang out. Teams like Dignitas, right? I'm expecting TSM to kind of settle in around that spot, but we're already seeing Anda looking great with his ability to make these plays, consistently looking for engages and Takeover, popping off when he needs to.
And it was just great play from TSM Academy to get that first victory right after the break over FlyQuest Academy. We're going to toss it to our own break, so that way we can get some water reset and get ready for our halftime show, the last one of the day. Make sure you stay tuned.